Okay, we're going to continue the difference between Incoterms 2020 and 2010. Uh, as I told you, the Incoterms has many meaningful, content. Okay, this is uh, the terms defining, the cost and obligations. Okay, the cost for transportations, and then the obligations of, something, uh, you know, the risk, the obligation for the risk-taking obligations, while transportation from seller to buyer. Okay, and uh, in previous years, we have adopted Incoterms the 2010, but from early this year, we have to, not have to, it is the optional whether you accept the Incoterms 2020 or 2010. It's depending on you. Okay, it's not obligation. This is not compulsory. Once the ICC published the 2020, but it's your optional whether you adopt 2010 or 2020. Okay, you have no obligation. This is not compulsory. Okay, if you feared or if your new terms of 2020 is more, expert and more adaptable, you can adopt. You can adopt the 2020. But if you love the previous to 2010, you don't have to, you don't have to stick to the 2020. Okay, it's depending on your situations. Okay, and depending on your, circumstance right there. Okay, anyway, I'll continue that. Okay, and in previous, lectures we have reviewed, and the 2010 and 2020, the DAT, the terms, uh, which is not reality in job site, replaced with, the, terms which reflect reality. Okay, one example, not example, the one actually, the crowd changed, a term changed, one term changed. Okay, in 2020, DAT to DAU, because the DAT was not actually used. DAT meaning that delivery at terminal, uh, other than, okay, that is that the seller took the obligation to deliver, to buyers countries terminal. Okay, uh, but this is very, inconvenient, because the buyers also has to pick up, the product from terminal to his factory again. So buyer one, seller to deliver product to their, factory. So DAU reflect that kind of circumstance. Okay, that kind of circumstance. Okay. I emphasize this one. Okay. Also, again, number two change is that a seller or buyer can use his own vehicles to deliver to, FCA, okay, DAP, DAU, and DDP, okay. In this term, FCA, DAP, DAU, DDP, okay. Seller or buyer has to hire third-party transport. Okay, third-party transport couldn't use their own vehicle, deliver product to the destination, or to pick up the product from the from the place where the seller delivered to their factory. Okay, so from 2020 allows seller or buyer can use their own vehicle, okay, carried. Okay. That means do not need to hire third party transportation. Okay, this is another change. Okay, this is another change. Okay, so they can save their transportation cost. Okay, so they can save cost, right? Cost. Okay. Incoterms, the 2010 assumed that goods were to be carried by seller or buyer, the parties would instruct, okay, a third party carrier, meaning that the parties meaning that the seller or buyer should notify a third party, carrier, okay. This did not allow for the circumstance where the buyer or seller would use their own transportations without needed to engage the third party carrier. Okay. Consequently, the rules FCA. Okay. The rule where the buyer or seller can use their own vehicle is FCA, okay, DAP, delivery at price, and DPU, delivered price on node, okay, and DDP, delivered duty paid, right? Allows, okay, seller or buyer can use their own carried. Understand this one? Okay. Okay. So, okay. Another thing, the difference between 2020 and 2010 is regarding insurance level. Okay, insurance level. Okay, in Incoterms, the C terms. Okay, C terms, C terms, C terms like C terms, C terms like C terms like CIP. Okay, and CIF. Okay. These two terms containing insurance and freight. Okay, insurance freight. But this insurance is not for the seller, but for the buyer. Okay, but for the buyer. Okay, so the benefit of this insurance is not for seller. The sellers only pay for buyer, not for him. Okay, the sellers pay for insurance, not for himself, but for buyers. Okay, instead of buyer, the cost, okay, and benefit for the buyer. Okay, also the risk should the buyer should take the risk, but as the seller pay for the insurance, okay, the beneficiary of insurance will be for buyer. Okay, in this case, the insurance by the seller is just for the buyer. The seller do not have to pay for the insurance the high level, like so the low level is acceptable. Okay, so level C, like level C is the lowest one. Level A is the highest. So okay, so level C was okay, but 2020 then in 2020 the C grade is only acceptable in CIF. Okay, but was okay, but new 2020, okay, C is only acceptable with CIF. Okay, so CPI should adopt grade A, not C. Okay, A, not C. Okay, the reason why in C terms of Incoterms allowed lowest insurance grade, because in C terms the insurance is not for the seller, but for the buyer. but instead the buyer, the seller paid for the insurance. So the lowest insurance was okay, and if the but the risk is the risk during the transportations is on buyer. So buyer can add or upgrade insurance to A, okay, according to his circumstance, okay. So the beneficiary of the insurance of C terms is none other than buyer, not seller. So lowest level insurance by seller is allowed, okay. So if the beneficiary, the buyer are anxious about the damage during transportations, he himself can upgrade, insurance up to A grade, okay? Understand? But in new Incoterms 2020, in CIF, sellers should adopt highest level A grade, okay, insurance. The C is not acceptable, okay? This is also the change between Incoterms 2010 and 2020. Okay, then if we summarize this one, well, cost listed within Incoterms 2020, on the Incoterms 2010, the allocation of cost between buyer and seller appear in different parts of each Incoterms rule. However, on the Incoterms 2020, all cost allocations now appear A9, B9 of each of the rule, okay? Okay, this is the change of the, items emphasizes in Incoterms. The, list of items, the rank of the items has been changed. The position of these items, Incoterms emphasize, was changed, okay? Okay, regarding the difference level of insurance cover in CIF and CFA, CIF and CIP, the minimum level of insurance cover required for both CIP and CIF under Incoterms 2010, but in 2020, CIF remained C grade as it was, but CIP should upgrade the level of insurance up to A, okay? But in this case, also exceptional exists. If, what is the exception? If both party, but both party agree on different level of insurance cover. Can agree, okay? Okay, this is in spite of these regulations, but both parties can agree on different level of insurance cover. Meaning that, okay, if mutual agreement exists, seller and buyer can lower the level or upgrade the level, okay, in both sides. But This is acceptable if both party has mutual agreement. Okay. In term C of Incoterms, the risk during the transportations is on buyer. So buyer wants the higher insurance cover. To the contrary, the seller should pay for the cost for insurance, but the beneficiary wants the accident broken is not for him. It's not just for buyer. So the seller want lower cover insurance. Okay, like C. So between them there is the mutual interest difference. Okay, so the ICC Incoterms 2020 determine to upgrade insurance coverage in case of CIP, but CIF can remain itself, okay, as it is, as a C grade. Okay. Another difference is very prominent difference and important difference is the bill of lading. Regarding bill of lading on FCA terms, bill of lading. Okay, bill of lading on FCA term. Okay, bill of lading is necessary for negotiations after shipping. Okay, the seller is in a hurry of bill of lading because this documentation is necessary, compulsory for negotiation. Once buyer want to collect the money, okay, but FCA terms, I'm sorry, not FAC, FCA terms. In FCA terms, the seller cannot FCA terms seller cannot request shift bill of lading. Okay, because actually FCA is term the pre-carriage of seller. Actually, F term is delivered at shipping area, not destinations, not arriving area. Okay, F term is for shipment area. Okay, so in this case FCA, the seller has only to deliver product to the carriage where the carriage area where the buyer designated. Commonly, the warehouse of airport or warehouse of the port will be general FCA place. Okay, the carriage to in this case the carriage, the shipping, the ship or the airframe. So seller has only delivered product to the cargo of airport or the port. Okay, CY like that. But in this case also, this is not actually, on board status. Just, the warehouse or whatever ready for, shipping. So in this case, only received BL can be published. Received BL on FCA terms. Only received B of rating can be, published, issued. Okay? But on the position of seller who won negotiation, need what? Shift bill of rating. So according to letter of credit. Okay? Once they used LC method as a payment method, right? So once you want to use LC, you can't use, FCA, because FCA do not publish shift bill of rating. So in this revision or upgrade of 2020 allows, if there is a mutual agreement, between seller and buyer. In this case, buyer can request, the carrier. In this case, then the seller, if there is mutual agreement, okay, mutual agreement is very important criteria. Seller can request carrier to issue what? Shift bill of rating. Okay? And he can proceed what? Negotiation. With the bill of rating, BR. Okay? With the shift BR, not received BR. Okay? Okay, this is new revision. Okay, this is new revision. Not revision, actually upgraded in 2020. Okay.